Hey, hey, bienvenidos to episode 6 of This Latina Travels. Today I'll be talking about America. That's right, los Estados Unidos, specifically my adventures in the Four Corner states, which are Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah. Now, I know what you may be thinking. What? United States? Why? Girl, you've been to so many other places that you still haven't talked about. And you are 100% right, sis. But if you've been following my podcast since day one, I've been telling you my travel journey in chronological order. Shameless plug, if you haven't listened to my previous episodes, I definitely encourage you to go back. After this one, of course. Plus, I have to let y'all know, the gems I'm about to drop in this episode will make you want to visit these states, especially Arizona, which is one of the top 3 places I have visited in the world.
Hold up.
Yep, you heard right. And just in case you need a refresher, I've been to 6 out of the 7 continents, 18 countries and counting, and when this pandemic is under control worldwide, nos fuimos! So, before I begin talking about my journey to the Four Corner states, let me start this episode by celebrating reaching a milestone with TLT. That's right, we reached 1,000 downloads with only 5 episodes. Yes, snap it up. And it wouldn't have been possible without you. So, de todo corazón, mil gracias. I won't stop saying it because I really do appreciate everyone who has subscribed, listened, submitted a review, and shared it with friends or family. Y'all are making this passion project of mine a reality. As a token of appreciation, I did my first giveaway on IG. I'm super excited to say that I was able to gift a matching This Latina Travels beach hat to my sorority sister, Talisa Ramos Watts. Can't wait to see you rocking in style, sis.
You go, girl.
Don't worry, I'm sure I will have many more milestones to celebrate, so there will be plenty more giveaways. And yes, I am speaking it into existence. I know it's been a few weeks since the last episode of TLT. I knew that starting this project while working a full-time job during a pandemic would be tough. But I'm not even upset about it, because if there's something that this panorama has taught me, it's that tomorrow is not promised, and we need to enjoy every single moment we can. And that's exactly what I did this past month. Not only was it my birthday month, but I honestly needed a break. I went to the beach 3 out of the 4 weekends and got much needed vitamin D. I also spent it with people who truly care about me. It was just so refreshing. But I'm back. Guess who's back? Back again. Bianca's back. Tell a friend. Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Okay, let me stop before M keeps giving me the stank look or whatever. But I missed y'all. And I know it's only been a couple weeks, pero it felt like forever. Kind of like my road trip to New Mexico. So after I graduated with my master's in public health, side note, shout out to the 4% of Latinas with a master's degree. I wasn't 100% sure what the next move was going to be. I had applied earlier that year to a competitive fellowship program with CDC called PHAP, Public Health Associate Program. I'll never forget that call. It was early July, and I was given 48 hours to decide if I was going to take this opportunity. I was offered a position in Santa Fe, New Mexico, with the State Department of Health, the Epidemiology and Response Division, to be exact. A little bit about this fellowship program. It's 2 years, and they don't reimburse you for relocation expenses. And you start off as a GS5, which is the bottom of the total pool when it comes to the federal levels of payment. But it was my ticket into the federal government. And I would be a full-time government employee earning all the same federal benefits. And not to mention, the transition after 2 years from this fellowship would be much easier than going down the USA job tunnel. Now, don't get me wrong, it was a hard pill to swallow. I had just achieved one of the biggest accomplishments of my life, my master's degree. But you're telling me that I was still going to be making a $20,000 salary range? It hurt my pride. A lot. Not to mention my wallet. As a first-generation Latina, there was no way I could ask my mom to help me financially. She simply couldn't. This is where credit cards became my best friend. Like I mentioned earlier, we had to pay for all relocation expenses, and that was going to be a big chunk of change for me since I was moving across the country. I had to rent a Penske moving truck with an attachment because I needed my car, but I didn't want to drive it across and add thousands of miles. I also had to find a place in a new state that I had never been to, which meant a security deposit, first month's rent, etc. It was a whole new experience for me. Thankfully, God had my back, and I had a whole village supporting me without me even realizing it. I remember posting on Facebook. I know, who does that anymore? Just kidding.
Shots fired! Shots fired!
About how expensive rental trucks were. And Evelyn S. commented, "I work for Penske. Let's talk." She gave me a 50% discount, and we barely even knew each other. We went to George Mason together, but that was pretty much it. Her act of kindness is something I will never forget. It was like all the cards were playing out right. Everything was going to be okay. If you're hearing this, Evelyn, thank you so much. Your gesture was a life lesson, and it's something that I will forever be grateful for. So before I got on the road, I had to make sure I had a place to go. This is where my good friend Katerina comes in. Shout out to her for graduating and becoming a whole doctor this month. Doctora Bledsoe, I'm so proud of you, amiga. And I'm so thankful PHAP connected us. Katerina was already in New Mexico as the current PHAP fellow, so she basically was my connect. I honestly don't know how I would have done it if it wasn't for her guidance and willingness to answer all my questions. Thank you, Katerina, not only for your friendship, but for helping me transition into a whole new chapter. Te quiero mucho. But back to this drive. I was gonna do it alone. I know, my sister Melissa and many others thought I was crazy. Remember, I was still trying to figure out a lot of new things in my life. I was moving to a whole different state, whole different time zone. I was starting my career in public health with CDC, and not to mention, I really didn't know anyone in New Mexico. Oh, and I was still learning to adjust to the single life after ending a relationship of 6 years. So being on the road for a couple days by myself didn't seem like a bad idea. But boy, am I glad that I didn't do this journey by myself. Not only is it physically exhausting, but there was no way I could have moved everything off that truck by myself. Shout out to my good friend Leno. Thank you so much for helping me move. You a real one. So that's how I ended up in New Mexico for the first time in my life. I also thought I was moving to a desert, meaning heat. Yeah, I was wrong. I believe the second or third week I was there, it snowed. Turns out New Mexico is a high desert. The elevation is like 7,000 feet above sea level. So when I started hiking, yeah, that was a big slap in the face. But it was also breathtaking to witness such beauty firsthand. So here goes my first recommendation. Drum roll, please. Invest in the yearly National Park Pass. It's $80, but hear me out. Most National Park Passes have an entrance fee that ranges anywhere from $10 to $30. So if the average entrance fee is $20, that's 4 visits per year to get your money's worth. And I definitely hiked and explored way more than 4 parks in a year. Side note, if you're in the military, the pass is for free. There are also senior discounts and opportunities for you to become a volunteer to get your pass for free. Also, did you know on certain holidays, national parks open for free? Just visit the website at nps.gov. Before I get into my hiking stories, I have to tell you about an annual event that happens in New Mexico, the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta. For more than 4 decades, the first 2 weeks in October bring the smell of roasted chilies and the beautiful, magical moving picture show of hot air balloons sailing silently through the crisp fall air in New Mexico. Yep, you heard right. Hot air balloons from all over the world come for this festival. To get the whole experience, I recommend getting there around 5 a.m. 1, to avoid the crowds. 2, to get a good parking spot. 3, and most importantly, to see firsthand the process of how these balloons get ready for takeoff before sunrise. It's absolutely surreal. I'll never forget all the different shapes, colors, and sizes of hot air balloons. And once they're all up in the air, you just lay on your blanket or bring your folding chairs and just watch these hot air balloons in the sky. Yep, definitely worth it. Okay, let's get into hikes, starting with Jemez Springs. Shout out to Kelly for going on this unforgettable adventure with me. I still remember like it was yesterday. We were on a mission. We brought our little cooler, had our bathing suits on underneath our clothes, and we were ready to see the beauty of Jemez Springs. Little did we know that it would be a 10-mile hike round trip. Yep, I'm so happy we had food, water, and each other because at the end of the day, we were both physically and mentally exhausted. Mind you, we both were not avid hikers, so doing your research is key, my friends. But I will say, I had never been in a natural thermal pool overseeing nature. It was magical. I can close my eyes and I can picture all the tall pine trees and the sound of serenity. When I learned I was moving to New Mexico, I created a list of things that I must do. Not sure if I'm the only one that does this, but I love checklists, and marking things off just makes my day. One of those items was to stand in 4 places at once, and the only place in the United States where 4 states adjoin is the Four Corner Monument. For starters, the area surrounding this monument is Native American land. Many people who travel to the Four Corners want to learn more about Native Americans, their culture, and ways of life. There is some opportunity to do that by touring the visitor center and visiting the artisans and craftsmen booths. I wish we had done more of that. There is a $5 entrance fee per person, only cash, and we waited about 15 to 20 minutes in line to get our picture. The monument itself is a silver circle plaque on the floor for picture purposes. I decided to do the push-up position so I could literally say I was in all 4 states at once. Check. Side note, I just did a quick Google search and the Four Corner Monument is currently closed due to COVID, and it looks like they're going to be closed for the rest of the year due to the high number of COVID cases within the Native American nation. Next on my list, Colorado. Did you know that sand dunes exist in the United States? Because I sure didn't. And you may be asking yourself, what is a dune? It's a mound of sand formed by wind that is usually along a beach or desert. But I can tell you, there are no beaches near the one in Colorado. It literally felt like we were in the movie Aladdin. Yep, endless sand dunes all around us. Not only was it picture perfect, but we even attempted to go sandboarding. I would suggest buying a real sled that you can get real cheap at Walmart. You know, one of the plastic circle ones. We thought we were so creative and brought our plastic storage bin container lids. Yeah, it's not the same. Next up, Utah. Write this down. Arches National Park in Utah. The rock formations are out of this world. Not to mention the amazing views driving on Park Avenue. Absolutely worth it. Now I must warn you, Arches National Park is huge. When we were there, we only had about 4 to 5 hours to explore, and it wasn't nearly enough time. You can literally spend days there. Some of the hikes are longer than others, and you can easily get lost in time. Not just because there's no cell service, at least back in 2016. But when you witness these rock formations in person, you are starstruck. I have never seen anything like it. If I could go back, I would absolutely rent a camper and stay there for a weekend. Last but not least, Arizona. Are you ready to hear about my all-time favorite road trip? It was to Page, Arizona. Huh? That's right, Page, Arizona. I had never heard of it either. My roomie Pearl and a couple other PHAPs from New Mexico and I ended up booking a hotel to stay overnight since we were driving from Albuquerque, New Mexico, approximately 6 hours. We ended up going the first weekend of December, which surprisingly wasn't as crowded as we thought. The purpose of this trip was to visit Lower Antelope Canyon and Horseshoe Bend. Lower Antelope Canyon is a place I will never forget, which is why I also chose it as my album cover for this episode. It is literally one of the top 3 places I have ever visited. For starters, it's on native land and filled with so much history. Second, you must reserve your tickets prior to visiting. The company we booked our tickets with was called Dixie's Lower Antelope Canyon Tours. At the time, I paid $63.60 for 3 tickets. But just quickly glancing at the website, prices have definitely gone up, but it's worth every penny. So let me do my best at describing my experience. This guided walking tour is about an hour and some change. The canyon begins with descending down 5 flights of stairs. Make sure to wear appropriate shoes and use the handrail. Once you're at the bottom, your journey through this magical place begins. I would describe it as a kaleidoscope of colors formed out of this world. It was pretty chilly down there, but you don't really feel it because you're walking pretty fast and just admiring the beauty surrounding you. Our tour guide was so friendly. He was not only doing a great job in making sure our group was following along, but he knew where to take the best pictures. Although I wish I would have spent more time in the canyon, I realize there's a reason why there's a limit in timing and only a certain number of tickets per day. This Navajo sandstone is sacred, and it's a privilege that we're even allowed to set foot inside and see this beauty firsthand. And when you finish at Lower Antelope Canyon, you must stop by Horseshoe Bend. It's literally a 10-minute drive away, if that. Horseshoe Bend is a near-perfect circular canyon carved into the earth by the Colorado River. I know, it sounds so magical, because it is. Its barrier-free rim allows you to walk straight up to the edge and gaze down at the crystal blue-green water below. Pretty please be smart and don't get too close to the edge. The hike to the overlook from your parking spot is no more than 1.5 miles round trip. The trail is wide, overall flat, and an easy walk for anyone to do. Although there isn't an entrance fee, there is a parking fee of $10. Horseshoe Bend often draws large crowds, and rightfully so. So if you have the time and money, another fantastic way to do Horseshoe Bend while avoiding crowds is from the sky, on an airplane tour. I did not do this, but from pictures, it looks beautiful. Whew, well, that was a lot. And there are so many more places that I didn't get into detail. So who knows, maybe a part 2 will come out in the future. But I do want to leave you with all these takeaway points from this episode. Number 1, celebrate every accomplishment, sis. Whether it's small or big, it's a part of life that we don't take enough advantage of. So do yourself a favor. Just celebrate. Number 2, kindness doesn't cost one thing. Imagine if we were kinder to each other. This world would be such a better place. And number 3, explore your own backyard. We're so eager to sometimes get out of where we live, but we miss the beauty that is in our own backyard. Hello, Lower Antelope Canyon in Arizona. Well, with that, I leave you. Until next time, mi gente. If you're listening via Apple Podcasts, don't forget to leave me a 5-star rating and write me a review. But most importantly, subscribe and share this with a friend or 2. Feel free to contact me if you have any questions via email at thisLatinaTravels@gmail.com or my Instagram at thisLatinaTravels. I hope you're ready for this journey because I sure can't wait to tell you more about why this Latina travels.